All right, so good evening and welcome to the Village City Council early work session. Today is Tuesday, March 22nd. It is 6 p.m. We are going to get started with a presentation of the annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year 2020-2021. Mr. Herman?
Seems like we just did this. This year goes by quick. And we made it through another year. Accountability is a big part of what any public agency is all about. And so the audit is a big part of that. So everything we do, all the major things are really reviewed and scrutinized and make sure everything's presented fairly. So when we actually say we have this balance, we truly do. And so it's a pretty exhaustive process. Heather Miller is my right-hand person who just does beautifully with all this. And so every year we end up coming out with a fairly boring report just because Heather takes care of things so well. That's exactly what we want. Paula Lau is here with us tonight. Actually, it's been a couple of years. She's had to do a video the last couple of years. So our auditors up to Brown Hill, and we've had them for a good while, and we have had a great partnership of working with this. We work really well together, and I feel like they do an outstanding job, a very thorough job, and keeps us on our toes. And so she's here to kind of give it straight from their perspective of how things look and available for questions, and I'll just turn it over to Paula.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate that. First off, I would like to just echo everything Ken said. It's definitely going through the audit process every year. It is a grueling type thing for everyone here at the city, not only for the people that are in the accounting department, but in other areas where they're actually collecting funds here for the city too, such as in the water area. And it has anything to do with, with billing, so for other types of revenue sources as well, like with parks and things of that nature too. So we try to, get out and, talk to a lot of individuals just to make sure that we know what has happened at the city for the past year that we're doing the audit for. And such as also is like reading council minutes, just to make sure that we know what to expect out of these financial statements that you see here today as well. But first off too, I guess what I would like to do is just provide you with the audit results and just kind of briefly touch on a couple of things within the financial statements as well. On page 1 of the larger document that you do have in front of you, that's where you will see the independent auditor's report. Basically within this audit report, it talks about what the auditor's responsibilities are, as well as management's responsibilities too. Us as auditors, we are responsible to perform certain procedures in order to feel comfortable with these financial statements to meet a certain prescribed set of guidelines. And the management is responsible for putting the information together within those set of guidelines as well. And I'm happy after we did perform procedures in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards as well as government auditing standards, I'm happy to inform you that we were able to render an unmodified opinion. And an unmodified opinion is the highest opinion that can be rendered, is known as a clean opinion to most individuals as well. So congratulations for that. I know you might have been here saying the same words for a little while, but there's still a lot of information that we have to go through in order to meet requirements, to meet standards, in order to be able to say that. It's not, we can't just say, hey, Heather, what is this balance? And she says, well, it's this, and we say, okay. We have to perform a lot of additional procedures, maybe asking outside agencies, what is this balance supposed to be? And then we agree that back to your books as well. So that's just one example of part of that process. And also on the very last page of this report, you'll find another report that we issue. As I mentioned to you, we did have to follow government auditing standards. And those standards require that we consider the controls and processes that this entity does have. And if we come across some of those processes that we feel like aren't adequate to detect some of the statements to the financial statements, then we are required to report that information to you here. I'm happy to let you know that we don't have any items to bring to your attention here today. So congratulations again. So those are the two main things, obviously to look for. And hey, the independent auditor's report, we're getting a clean opinion. Do we have some control issues or things that the auditor is having to bring to our attention as well? And so within the comprehensive annual financial report, there is a section, the management's discussion and analysis section. I think that is a very, very good read for everyone. I know everyone's not necessarily a numbers person, so as you read through that information, it gives you a really good idea of what has happened, here at the city for the last year and how that information and those actions did affect the financial statements as well. One additional highlight that I would like to bring to your attention is on page 20 and 21, you'll find the balance sheet for your governmental funds. As you can see there are positive balances there, and there is an increase to the fund balance in every fund that you would expect to, except for the capital projects fund, but you are spending some resources that you've set aside on certain projects there. So you will see a decrease. And accordance with some guidance that we've been provided as well, look at comparing your general fund expenditures to your ending fund balance, your unassigned fund balance. It's an adequate balance there as well. If you can flip over to pages 26 and 27, your enterprise funds, your water and wastewater fund. And towards the bottom of the page, you see net position as well on page 27. You can see positive categories for each there. Net investment capital assets is positive, restricted, and unrestricted as well. So, and those are in good financial health positions as well. I just wanted to make sure that I pointed out those type of items out to you. Just if I felt like that there was a concern of the direction that the city was going, I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. But at this point in time, this snapshot in time, everything is looking very well. But that's just a brief overview, brief summary of the audit results, just a couple of highlights there in the financial statements. One other thing that I would like to point out is in the introductory section on page 7, you'll find an award that the city has received for its reporting and financial excellence for its 2020 fiscal year. It received the award from the Government Financial Officers Association and has received this award for several years now. So, well, good. So all of these type of things just means that there's an ongoing good set of processes and controls and people that are being good and diligent over the funds for this particular city. If you have any questions, I'm more happy to answer those as well. And again, these guys have been doing a great job of working with everyone throughout the city and keeping them in line too, making sure that they're spending the money in accordance with the budget.
Or not spending the money. Again.
There you go. That too.
Council, does anybody have any questions? So you've been doing this since I came on, and we get a good report every year.
Yes.
And I think that just goes to show people that we have in place are phenomenal. And we appreciate you doing this.
I do have a question, Mayor.
Sure.
And this mostly to Ken. I know we always talk about fund balance being, up to 25% of ongoing operations. What would be the appropriate fund balance in our wastewater and utility? I mean, we're showing 10 million.
We generally look at days of operating expenditures, and so like 90 days is to 100 is kind of where we'd like to be. So that would equate to roughly the same, like a 20% fund balance. There's gonna be a little bit more volatility there just because of changes in weather. So it'll have a little bit more swing than we would have on the general fund side. But so I would say it'll be anywhere from 15 to 25%, just given the type of weather conditions and sales we have from year to year.
Thanks.
One thing to take into consideration too, when you're looking at the enterprise fund, that net position does include capital assets. So, and those are to be used for operations, obviously, and won't be used, yeah.
What I generally show you in budget is working capital.
Yeah.
So that would be really the cash or cash equivalent position of that, and that's more the reference. This will include more, as Paul explained.
Okay.
Anybody else? You're so quiet tonight.
Ken, I do have one question. Remind me, when does the RFP go back out for banking and financial services?
We, I'm trying to remember where we're at it's for a 5-year,
Yeah,
term.
it's a 3-year term
Three-
with 2
two-
one-year
right,
extensions.
right.
I think we will hit the 3rd year August of this year, so we have 1 more year.
So likely probably a year for the consideration of that.
We're still comfortable with Wells Fargo.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing a good job for what we need, and certainly in their services and so forth.
They upped our fees or anything?
The fees are a little bit more than what we would like, but I think that's pretty much across the board right now. So going out for bid again, I wouldn't expect that really to change a whole lot, but certainly we'll take a look and see.
All right, no other questions? You're still looking at something, you might have a question? Okay.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you guys, appreciate it too, for giving us this opportunity.
Absolutely.
And I enjoy being the boring part, trust me.
I guess, yeah.
Big thanks to Heather and Ken for
Absolutely.
the level of effort that went into preparing it and getting it ready.
Right. I'm glad that you can come back in now.
Me too, so.
It has to make it easier, so.
It is.
All right. Okay, council, we're gonna move to number 2, discuss appointments to fill vacancies for unexpired terms on the Ethics Board and the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. And
So we do have, we had a couple of members resign, leaving vacancies with unexpired terms, one on Ethics Board and one of the alternate positions on the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. So last year during our annual board and commission appointments, we had quite a few applicants that submitted their applications. So I provided those to you guys if you wanted to look at those, so we could look to that for possible consideration for appointments. And I only included the ones that had either the Ethics or the Parks Board, Parks Advisory Board as their top 3 choices, like for second or
Who
third.
resigned? Remind me, who resigned from ethics?
Well, Kevin Cox is running for council.
Okay, he's on Parks.
He's on the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. I cannot remember the person that resigned on the Ethics Board.
That's okay.
Can't recall who that was. Sorry.
so we have, you have those with you, in front of you? Papers.
Yeah, we provided,
I forgot to bring mine, sorry.
there should be a handout there that's got a list of applicants.
What are we doing here, Tom? I mean,
Really?
What's my role?
I'm telling you. And she probably says, be sure you bring them. But that's okay.
She did sit out this morning.
Don't forget your packet.
Can y'all share?
You gotta send the remind to Kelly.
Yeah, no joke.
Oh, so that's
She had
the
me
trick,
put
I
it
have to
on
remember
on
that.
the kitchen counter this morning.
Oh, she did, and you still forgot it? Okay, let's move on. So, which one do we want to talk about first? I do know that, Hogan Heathington came to the,
The open house,
The open house.
with McAdams.
Review, yeah,
The cyclist?
No, different person. I think he was there too, but
He's a young kid.
yes, he had talked with Phil and I think a couple of other people. He said he was very interested, especially when he found out there was an opening on the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. So Phil had talked with him that day while he was there and felt good about that, so.
and then, so let's look at parks first. Does anybody have? I mean, I think Mr. Heathington would be good. Does anybody else have?
I don't have a particular preference. I did note that there were only two on the list that listed parks as their first preference, and that was Brian Cleary and Mark, and I'm gonna hammer this name, Mark Solo.
Mark Solo.
And looking at Mr. Solo's packet, he seemed like he was a really great candidate. Just reading through it, his experience and such. But I don't have neither of them are a hill I'm gonna die on.
Okay, anybody else have any comments?
Solo was also at the meet and greet. Yeah,
Mark is a bicyclist.
bicyclist, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, that's,
Avid.
yes, that is his passion.
And he was very interested. He talked a lot about the city there.
So one thing I did want to mention to you guys, if y'all want to choose from this pool of applicants, you can. If you would rather us put something out there together, more applications to consider, we can do that as well. So that's your call.
Did you contact these
I
people,
did.
see if they, okay.
Yeah, she talked to all of them. So, you know, I like, how do I say this? I'm gonna go back with Hogan Eathington as my preference, just for youth, I guess.
I like that too.
Just, maybe the Parks Board, any one of them would be fine. But I don't, you know, hey, I'm out in 4.5 meetings.
I like what he wrote. I mean, certainly showed a passion.
And there's, what did Greg Kahn, his, was, Greg is, what number was he?
His was, Parks was 3 and ethics, I don't even know if that was that on his list? Oh, no, his was P and Z, CDC and Parks were his preferences. And Parks was his last preference.
I mean, any one of these would be,
And it's an alternate we're appointing on Parks, right?
Yes.
I like the youth movement.
Yeah, I think putting the Eathington, is that how you pronounce it?
Eathington?
I
Yeah,
think so.
putting him on as an alternate.
Oh, I'm saying it.
Get his feet wet.
Do what?
Put him in as an alternate, and gets his feet wet.
Right, and that's where, what
Right,
is the,
and the term for that actually expires this fall. It's a relatively short amount of time left.
right? Not his, he was, actually, Highland Village is his childhood home, so speak up, please.
He did call after the open house, and I talked with him. But I just want you to know I'm still interested. He was very excited about the opportunity. but so are the others when I called them as well, so.
Right.
He's the only one that took the initiative to call you, though,
Yeah.
right? Okay. That means something to me.
Hogan Heathington, after the open house, he actually called to mention that he would be interested.
I'd support it.
I do still look at solo though, with Parks being his first choice. That's the only.
Okay.
I'm kind of impressed a kid who's born in 1993 wants to serve.
He's younger than both of my kids.
He's my youngest daughter's age, so yeah, I can support that.
What about this side of the room? So, I'm
Eeny, meeny,
Excitement just exudes.
okay, so let's talk about ethics. Does anybody have any, suggestions, concerns, comments?
The Peter Casey guy is eminently qualified for ethics, although, I mean, the hope is that they never have to do anything.
Right, right. And that's, like we always say, that's the board that we hope they never meet. But you're right, he is, very,
Accountability Office?
I know, that's, did you say the U.S. Accountability, Government Accountability?
Office.
Captain Courageous over
I
here.
still support my man Jason Bates.
Okay,
I
Captain
mean,
Courageous.
sorry. I think it'd be great.
And I've got 4 meetings. And whatever. I'm just throwing names out, come on.
Yeah, this is just-
Laura Atkinson? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes. I talked with Laura she had some questions when I called to see if she was still interested. She, actually, they had looked at her for possibly serving on the Parks Foundation when Kevin Fenderson was trying to get everything going with that, him and Dave Rush. The only reason she stepped away from that was at the time, they had a lot going on with that particular board, and she thought it would take more time than what she had available. With this, she felt like this was more doable for the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. So she said, you know, obviously, yes, that she would still be interested in serving. So she was, she would be a good candidate as well, so.
Well, now for ethics though, she
Yeah, she
was
would, that
number 5,
wasn't
so,
what she was interested in, yeah.
okay.
I'll say I like Hogan, I like Peter. So that's
Okay.
where I'm at.
Hogan and Peter,
What it's worth.
okay.
Okay.
What's that?
Does anybody
Oh, I'm
else?
sorry, Hogan for Parks and Peter for ethics.
Right,
Just to be
Right,
clear.
yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
That's kind of where I am too.
what'd you say?
That's pretty much where I am too.
Okay. What about this side of the room?
I'm trying, who did you put up?
Hogan for, Parks and.
Hogan
Peter-
Heathington and Peter Casey for ethics.
and I'm still solo. I'll go with,
Well, you're soloing by
Casey.
yourself, okay, you're solo, get it? Solo.
I am a solo.
I'm good with that.
If you, since there were more interested applicants in the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, you could always just do the appointment for that one, and then we could seek additional applications for ethics if y'all wanted to go that route.
Oh, no, but I think
You
we
don't
have
have to
qualified-
necessarily do
no,
it
But I
tonight.
think, even though while they may not meet,
Right.
they only have how many members? 5?
Mhm.
And no alternates on
No,
ethics.
there's no alternates on that particular board, it's just five.
So,
And action has to be brought to them for them to meet. They don't initiate
Correct.
action, correct?
Well, yes and no. So because they haven't had anything brought before them, they do typically meet about once a year to
But
approve the
In
minutes.
right, but in terms of taking any action,
Right.
they don't initiate.
No.
You know, they don't say, hey, let's launch an.
No.
Okay.
It's only if a complaint or if they receive. So,
okay. Well, we can, take this out. discussion out, if, there's not a consensus, for discussion on bias if we need to, or we can, if we have consensus, then, we can make a motion with their name without further discussion.
I'll support Robert's request, recommendation.
Okay.
Are their heads going that way? I can't.
Well, this is just a
This is just a
consensus, we're not
consensus, yeah,
voting.
no. Just
No,
consensus.
Formal action will be in the
They
regular
haven't
meeting.
said anything over there.
Sense of the council.
I think there are 4 senses.
I think that, all of them are extremely well qualified on all of them that we have. And the one is just an appointment till October.
Yeah, it expires September 30th of this year. The other one is next year, goes through September 30th of 2023 for the Ethics Board.
That'll work.
Okay.
What I'm saying, if I'm the only one that has a different opinion, I will go with the consensus.
Okay, perfect. And then, do we know what that's gonna be when we get there, when we get out there, so. And, okay. All right. Moving right along to clarification of consent for action items listed on today's meeting agenda. Anybody have any questions? They'd like clarification on? So, on number 17, that's the sidewalk.
Right.
Do you want to,
Yeah, just quickly. What it is, of course, as you know, we reported previously, the contractor defaulted that we originally contracted with and approved. They basically just shut down business nationally with their entire firm here last fall. We've been working with Performance Bond Surety to get us a replacement contractor and pay the difference between the original bid, our original contract and what the new contractor was done. This agreement does that, just takes care of that. So,
Is it commonplace to take a contractor from the insurance company rather than?
well, this is what,
we do it
well,
ourselves?
Scott was involved in vetting
Right.
the contractor as well. I
Okay.
think he was actually one of the ones that, yeah.
It's the same crews hired by a new parent company.
Yeah.
So,
And who will be the new general?
Talbrand?
Cow brand.
You're gonna finish on time, right? No delays?
We can get him started, if we can get this,
Already
get him
delayed.
started.
They said they can mobilize April 4th. The original contract is the end of May. They'll probably be done closer to June. End of June.
but it's the same crew, just different name?
Same cost, right? Not gonna cost us more. Same.
That's us.
Is the insurance company's picking up?
Yeah,
the slack?
he's gonna pick up the difference.
The surety company's at risk.
That's what the performance bonds do, so.
So, and if we want, we can move that to consent. Since
I'm
it-
fine with that.
So I'll ask and we'll move that consent. Okay? Hey, we can move status reports and adjournment to consent as well. If we want to.
Consent to adjourn.
Yeah.
You could
One
move-
motion without a motion.
You could move 15 up to consent also.
Mike just made a motion.
That's pretty much performance.
Yeah, I think it won't take long though to do that one. We'll leave that one on action. Yes. Are we good with moving that then to consent?
Yes.
17? 17 to
17.
consent? Okay. All right. Anybody else got anything? We have 30 minutes. We talk about anything you want. No? Is there, am I missing something?
Only when the lawyer leaves.
What?
Right.
He said we could talk about anything we like.
And I'm sitting here shaking my
Yeah,
head.
that's
No, you can't.
More meetings.
Somebody text me his number and I'll have somebody call him.
Okay. And then I guess, hey, status reports, we can do that now. Anybody want any? We do late and early.
Yep.
Heck yeah, let's do
Let's
it.
do it.
Do it.
Anybody want any updates? Any status reports?
Well, I guess it'd be a status report. The email that you send out every day on the COVID report, since we are where we are, and is there any discussion about they're gonna start cutting back on what they're reporting?
I don't think they've discussed that yet.
The judge extended the emergency declaration, so I imagine as long as that emergency declaration is active, we'll continue to get those reports
How far out did he extend it to?
to the end of April, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
The variant coming, so we gotta have this.
Time for the next
I'm
one.
trying to tee it up.
And if y'all would like us to discontinue, one less.
No, I
email,
Just asking.
No, I
When
think
will
it's,
we get
I
our next,
like it.
when will we get our next security update? License plate readers, all that kind of stuff.
I think we had this, do that
License
in
plate
April.
readers was the
I
last
think
meeting.
it's the last meeting in April.
Yeah.
I'll have to double check that, but I think
think
that's what it
it's
was slated for.
And when will we be updated on our village and our village?
See, I would have to look again at the calendar. Barbara. We are, I think Robert had asked that a while back, we are gonna start meeting with some of the property owners along 407. We'll get to that point and I'll let you guys know.
They said-
We'll get the schedule for the next one.
But are we even
said it
gonna
would-
get an update of what the citizens brought back even before you go
I think
out
they
and
said it
do
would
that?
take like 3 weeks to compile all that after they got the responses online and from the two
Yeah,
events.
and I'm not sure, Lori, if you've talked to,
I haven't talked to him about the timeline for that, but the online community engagement is open until April the 13th. I think after that, they'll start compiling all of the data. And I think Ron said that they thought maybe by the end of summer, they would have something put together to share as far as what they've compiled from the data.
we can find out.
yeah, we'll verify that.
Any update from the developer on the townhouses by Heritage Elementary?
They have a submitted application,
Okay.
so it is in the review process.
Anything else?
No.
Robert was asking about something.
No?
Not here.
No trees.
We will, okay, well, then we will adjourn at 6:34. Welcome to the Highland Village City Council meeting. Today is March 22nd, 2022. It is 7 p.m. And let the record show all the council members are present. We are actually going to start with a prayer led by Deputy Mayor Pro Tem Barbara Fleming, and then she will also lead us in the pledges.
Will you please join me in prayer and bow your heads? Our Heavenly Father, we come to you during these turbulent times, seeking peace and safety for the Ukrainians that are suffering unspeakable hardship imposed by a ruthless Russian oligarch. Be with leaders of all nations who are working to solve this inhumane issue. We have so much to give thanks for in the face of adversity. The numerous Texans that have come to the aid of others whose land, livestock, and homes have been threatened or lost in the wildfires, and those same caring hearts who are helping others work through the damage of schools, homes, businesses affected by last night's storms. We are thankful that personal injury was at a minimum. We ask that you be with each member of the military, police and fire, and medical fields, as well as their families, that they protect us each day. We forget to thank the staff of our beautiful city for their dedication. This evening, we ask your countenance upon each elected official and candidate running for office. May each serve with an open mind that listens to all, gathering all facts before making decisions. May those decisions always be in the best interest of every homeowner, resident, and business, both now and in the future. Our Father, we pray for those that have lost so much, and we ask dedication, caring, serving hearts. In thy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Good.
Thank you. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay. Next, we're going to have visitor comments. Anyone wishing to address council needs to complete a speaker's form, and in accordance to the Texas Open Meetings Act, City Council is restricted in discussing or taking action on items not posted on the agenda. Action on your statement can only be taken at a future meeting. In order to expedite the flow of business, well, you get 3 minutes, but we don't worry about that. So I do have two. Barbara D'Angelo, you'll come up to the podium. Be sure you state your address for the record.
Thank you.
My name is Barbara Ann D'Angelo, and I reside at 330 Whittier Street in Highland Village, Highland Shores, and my husband John is here with me tonight. We've lived in Highland Village and Highland Shores in the same home for 29 years, and we love it. We're retired educators. I worked for Louisville ISD, and we both, at our ages, I'm 81 and he's 84, we still sub for the school district and enjoy every moment of it, except the last few days when I've had some jobs canceled. But anyway, that's another subject. I get teacher's retirement. My husband gets Social Security. So we're not one of those $300,000 homes that they keep talking about on the news, you know, that can eat lentils and so on. We have a drainage problem behind our house. If any of you ever walk over that way, we have a beautiful walking trail. We are right behind McAuliffe Elementary. But through the back of our yard runs a creek, Part of it is on our land, part of it is homeowners, part of it is our next-door neighbors, who will be speaking with you also. And that has been eroding at a fast rate, especially lately. It started about when, I think it was 1995, when Briar Hill was built, Briar Hill Middle School. I'm sure you're familiar with that school. It started getting worse there. And whenever the spring rains came, the bridge that goes over the walking path looked like Niagara Falls. And as the water got faster and deeper and everything, our 3-foot or so high little creek that my husband used to be able to jump over when he was younger is now 8 to 9 feet deep and eroding fast up under the edge of our land and the neighbors. And my daughter discovered today around the bend and some of the other houses down that way, it's doing the same thing. Now, way back when the Homeowners Association decided to put up a wall on their part, the part of their property, and they wouldn't on ours because the creek is partly on our land. Of course, it has an easement, an oil company easement, I believe. But anyway, it's partly on our land, and so the Homeowners Association would not do anything about it. At that time, we could not afford $16,000, which doesn't sound like as much today because it would probably be 50 or more, or maybe, I don't even know. I don't even know how much it would be. All I know is that we have a bad problem back there. We have another problem, too, in that the kids that go to school at McAuliffe and Briar Hill walk home behind our house, and inevitably, almost every day, we see kids trying to play down there. Very dangerous. The walls could fall in, there could be snakes, there could be anything, and we're very worried about them. Now, when we see them, we ask them not to do that, and sometimes we get a little, you know how kids are, especially the middle school ones, a little smart mouth in there. But we try to keep them out of there. I just live in dread that someone's going to get hurt. And that's one of my problems. I wrote this all down, but I'm out. Constantly chasing those kids out. But now my fence and my neighbor's fences, we're within feet, they're within inches of falling into the creek. We feel like, even though we live in homes that may sell for a lot more money than we paid for them, that's not a good reason to ask us to leave our homes because of that. We want to stay in Highland Village. We want to stay in Highland Shores. We want to support this community and be a part of it. But if something isn't done about it, I don't know how we can do that. Kids Castle and the dog park and all that building over there had a lot to do, I think, with the change in the drainage, because it wasn't like that when we first moved there. And I know there was a bond issue that had to do with that, but I don't know, not being a person that knows about those kind of things. I've taught school all my life. I'm not an engineer. I don't know how well that was planned as far as drainage is concerned. Not to cast aspersions on anybody who was part of that bond issue, but it got worse, and it's getting worse all the time. I don't know what's involved with repairing the erosion, how much or what, but it's taking our property and soon will cause much more damage, as well as someone's going to be hurt. So I am asking, and my neighbors are asking, and we all are, some help from the city as to what to do about this and to help us solve this problem. I guess that's all I have to say, unless anybody has any questions. I passed some pictures around for you to see some of the some of the erosion.
Just your address again, please.
330 Whittier Street.
330 Whittier?
330, right.
Yeah.
Just next to the end, almost at the end of Whittier.
Okay.
You know.
All right. Well,
It's a beautiful street, and we want to stay there.
we appreciate you coming and bringing this to our attention. And we can't, because of Open Meetings Act, we can't discuss, or not that, but we can't discuss anything that's not on the agenda. So that's why we can't ask any questions or anything. But staff is here listening, and we will make sure that it gets looked into.
Good, and I ask the support of whoever wins the mayor's election.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we have Yvonne Tucker. You'll state your name and address as well.
Good evening. My name is Yvonne Tucker. I live at 328 Whittier Street, and we are next door neighbors to the D'Angelos. And Before I start, I just want to thank each of you for your service and for the 2018 bond. It has exceeded our expectations. We are thrilled with the improvements, and we sincerely appreciate all of the effort. Mayor Wilcox, thank you for your dedicated service. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure.
So I'm going to mirror a lot of what Mrs. D'Angelo said. We do live next door to them, and we back up to McAuliffe Elementary and the new trail systems. Directly behind our house is a creek and a bridge that sits on top of two large cement pipes for the water to flow into that creek directly downstream from McAuliffe. The new sidewalks are wider in this trail system. The water is flowing faster and harder down into those pipes just from that one area upstream. So to the left, about 10 yards up, we have another bridge on top of three large cement tubes that is catching the flow of the water that's coming upstream from Briar Hill that was built in 1995, and the ballparks and the softball fields and the dog park and the dredged ponds and all of those good things that have increased the water flow, but have also increased our water flow into our creek. So when I bought my house, a retaining wall was already installed on both sides of the creek, and I brought pictures for you guys as well. In 2019, a large tree fell from my side of the creek to the opposite side, and it's still there today, 3 years later, because it's holding up what remains of the wall. And in that time, I've had discussions with our HOA and city officials. They've come out, they've scoped it, and they've determined whose land is who. And we've learned quite a bit about Atmos Energy, sewage, cable, easements, and all kinds of stuff that I had no idea about. Ultimately, though, it turns out that all of the responsibility falls on to the homeowner, because that creek separates part of our land, which also is a part of an easement. So ultimately, we've been told it's the part of the homeowner to fix it. But it's becoming larger and bigger and bigger. I've had a bid to fix this just this week for $5,000 by two guys in a truck. They'll come in, they'll reinforce it. It won't match the wall that's already there, that's already broken and eroded from the damage. The house, when we bought it, the wall was already there, and it's now damaged on both sides, to include the HOA's side and maybe even a little bit of the city's responsibility on that side. But the water is rushing now. Where the wall ended on our side, it's rushing in behind the wall. And so we want to fix it to avoid further erosion and further trees coming down, which now, upstream and downstream, there's a lot of trees that are about to fall. And it's not just our responsibility or even the D'Angelos, because there's several homes downstream that are also going to be affected by this. More cement pipes. And then on down to the tennis courts, where I've seen that creek area has been improved upon with cement and retaining walls and all kinds of, better, less erosion. And even some of the community members have had their walls also updated. So anyway, the HOA will not approve that because it's over 4 feet in height. In fact, it's over 8 feet in height, and it requires an engineer. So now I'm much over $5,000. This is just my small section where that tree is fallen in. If you see the pictures upstream, the D'Angelos have a much larger section than we do. The guys that I talked to weren't even interested in touching that. There's exposed pipes, there's exposed wires. Under the water, under the rocks, you can see different areas. There's an Atmos, orange post you can see in one of those pictures. It's completely fell over into the creek. Further upstream on that other bridge where there's the 3 pipes. The sewage smell that's coming up by McAuliffe, we smell that daily. There's all kinds of stuff that probably should be inspected if it's not already by those companies. And I don't know from a city level how to drive that and make those things happen. Regardless, we could fix it, but it would only be temporary. And it's going to be a very expensive process until the upstream situation is resolved. It's not long-term. And my neighbors are unable to fix this on their own. So I'm here to ask for your empathy. I'm here to ask what each of you are doing to protect your citizens during this exciting new growth. The 2018 bond was fantastic. You guys did some great things. We're in an election season. What's in store for 2022? And how are you going to protect us from further erosion? How are you going to protect our kids that, as Mrs. D'Angelo said, are back there daily? They run out of McAuliffe, dying to play in that creek. Professional photographers come down there and take pictures, even when there's caution tape. They don't care. They're still going to go in there and take those pictures of our citizens. So our kids and our elderly that have contributed to our community and lived here more than 30 years and have retired as educators in LISD and are still subbing in their 80s during a pandemic just to make ends meet while raising a great-grandchild in LISD. And I was told as recently as this week that it's hard for the city to have sympathy for the homeowner when our homes are valued at a minimum of $600,000. Those of us that moved in 17 years ago or even 30 years ago didn't pay anywhere near that. So if the idea is just for us to move, I don't see how we're being protected. Certainly not our elderly citizens. So I would ask for your ear and consideration in that. And, you know, we understand this is going to be a process, but we figure we're here to get it started because we've been dealing with it for 3 years now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. Okay. We are going to move to mayor and council reports on items of community interest pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.0415. Council, does anybody have anything?
I have one little thing.
Okay.
I would like to say a big thank you for opening the parking last night underneath the bridges. That was a great thing for our community, and I enjoyed it myself.
So did we.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Anybody else? So I have a reminder, council, of the chili cook-off at McAuliffe. And there is a mayoral competition between the three mayors, myself, TJ Gilmore and Derek France. And it is the 31st of March at McAuliffe Elementary. And I think it's 5 to 8, I believe is the time. So come out and vote for your favorite mayor. Who cares about the chili? So don't worry, I didn't cook. I'm not cooking. We've teamed up with a local restaurant. Mine will be Awesome Times, Jerry Lisby. He's opening a new restaurant in the Bowery.
The Bowery, yeah.
I was going to say the district, but it's the Bowery. It takes a long time for old horses to learn new tricks. So that's who will be making the chili for me. Gilmore has he has joined forces with Sullivan's Barbecue.
I was gonna say, it doesn't matter, you don't need to name the competition.
That's true. And, well, but I'm going to now since I've already done one. Derek France has teamed up with the Tavern. That's who's making his. Obviously, mine will be the best. So please come out on the 31st. Anybody, it's open to the community, to everybody. So come out, staff, council, and vote for your favorite mayor. I mean, chili. So, yeah. Anybody else have anything? Okay. City manager and staff reports. We've got the village.
Yep.
Report.
New and now open in Highland Village.
Hi everyone, my name is Chef Ashanti. My cafe here is Hill's Kitchen Cafe. We just moved to the Highland Village area located inside of Painted Tree. So I like to focus on the healthy side of things. So I do plant my own herbs and things like that from the garden and use them in the kitchen to be able to bring the most nutritious value to your family, as well as our herbal teas. We do have coffee. We have a variety of coffee blends and macchiatos, espressos, and things like that. On the menu, we have some really great sandwiches, soups, and salads. Our bourbon meatballs, our egg rolls, and our California flatbread salad have been the most popular so far, but everything on the menu is totally delicious. So I would love for you guys to come in and dine with us. You can come in, dine in. You can also order to go or takeout. We would love to be able to serve you and your family. We do catering, we do private parties, and all those great things. Anything where food is pertained, you can definitely count on Chef and Hills and Hills Kitchen. I look forward to serving you all and meeting you very soon.
Now cut that ribbon.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to move to the consent agenda. All the items on the consent agenda are considered for approval by a single motion and vote without discussion. Each council member has the option of removing an item from this agenda so it may be considered separately and/or adding any item from the action agenda to be considered as part of the consent agenda items. Council, does anyone want to move anything from action?
Yes, I would like to propose that we move agenda item 17 to the consent agenda.
Okay. All right. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
All right. Yes. So consent agenda consists of number 11, consider approval of minutes of the special joint workshop held on February 8th, 2022, and the regular city council meeting held on March 8th, 2022. Number 12, consider ordinance 2022-1292, amending Chapter 22 Utilities, Article 22.02, Water Service, Division 2, Rates and Charges of the city's Code of Ordinances as it relates to billing adjustments following a residential water leak. This is the second and final read. Number 13, receive the annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year 2022-2021. And moving 17, consider resolution 2022-2994, authorizing an agreement with Trisure Insurance Company and Talbrand Enterprises LLC for completion of construction of the 2021 sidewalk improvements. Council, do I have a motion? Mr. Lombardo?
I would like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda items 11, 12, 13, and 17.
Perfect. So
Second.
we have a second with Mr. Heslop. Council, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Carries 7-0. Mark that off before I read it again. Okay, so we did not meet in closed session, so we'll do number 15. Consider resolution 2022-2992, canceling the special election to be held on May 7th, 2022, to elect a city council member to place 7 to fill an unexpired term and declaring the unopposed candidate elected to office.
So, Mayor and Council, back in February, you took action to order a special election to be held on May 7th, 2022, for the purpose of electing a city council member to place 7 to fill an unexpired term. So the filing period for placement on the ballot for the special election and declaration of the write-in candidacy has passed, and there was only one application received. So the city secretary's office has certified with written notification that the candidate is unopposed for the special election, Brian Fiorenza. And with that, upon receipt of the notification, council is authorized to adopt an order declaring the unopposed candidate elected to office and canceling the special election. So the proposed resolution tonight would make that happen.
Okay. All right. Mr. Jaworski?
So it's been the privilege of a lifetime to sit in this seat for the last 5 years. I took it from Mr. Bill Meek when he was term limited, and Brian is a good friend of mine, and I'm looking forward to a great term of service that he's going to provide the city. So with that, it's my honor to offer a motion to approve Resolution 2022-2992 to cancel the special election on May 7th and to declare, or for an unexpired term, and to declare Brian Fiorenza the winner of that unopposed race.
Sure. We have a motion. Council, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Kitzmiller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Carries 7-0. Number, do you have a your light's still on?
Oh, it is. I thought I turned it off, sorry.
Well, you had a question. Consider Resolution 2022-2993, appointing members to fill vacancies for unexpired terms on the Ethics Board and the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Ms. Miller.
So we have recently had 2 board members resign, one on the Ethics Board and one on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. That was an alternate position for place 2. So during our annual appointment process back in September, we had quite a number of applicants, so we still had some of those on file. We keep those for a year. So we did reach out to some of those applicants to see if they might be interested in serving. So tonight, during early work session, council had an opportunity to discuss that and came to a consensus. So this is an opportunity to do official appointments.
Okay.
To fill those 2 vacancies.
Mr. Feaster?
Yes, I'd like to make the motion that we appoint Hogan Heathington to the Parks Board position, the vacant position, and Peter Casey to the vacant position on Ethics Board.
Okay, council, we have a motion. Ms. Fleming?
I second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Council, all in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Carries 7-0. Thank you. All right, well, guys, we did late work session in early because we were so ahead of our time. Does anybody else have anything else?
Future agenda.
A future agenda?
Future.
What?
Saying he has
No,
something.
I'd like to put some things on a future.
Oh, go, okay.
No, I think in light of the public's comments that we had this evening, I'd request that Scott and I talked about this a couple weeks ago on that specific corner, because I walk that every day, to come back and give us a report on pros, cons, property lines, easements, and specifically look at what decisions were made when the rock was put in upstream about 5 years ago, and how that differed from what this would be. Give us a picture of it. No action, but just let us know what the rules are. Thanks.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Well, if there's not anything else, we are adjourned, and it is 7:30.